Today we are going to take a look at another horrible case with you. Before the year 1990, solving many criminal cases was extremely challenging for investigators because DNA testing and forensic analysis were not widely used at the time. However, forensic DNA analysis has been utilized in criminal cases since the late 1980s. As we all know, today with the help of technical evidence and forensic science, solving crimes has become much easier. Yet, in this particular case, despite having all the evidence, the killer still managed to fool the police for 42 months. It was February 14th, 2018, Valentine's Day on a chilly, foggy winter morning. Most lovers were snuggled up in their blankets and chatting with their lovers. Typically, on Valentine's Day, we all send messages, write love letters, or express our feelings directly to someone we are romantically involved with or attracted to. In return, we hope for a positive response from our crush or essentially our partner. Rakesh, a man living in Greater Noida, was hoping for the same. Rakesh had been married to Ratnesh since 2012 and had 2 children, a 3-year-old daughter named Avni and a 1-year, 6-month-old son named Arpit. On the night of February 13th, Rakesh had gone to bed with his wife and children, as usual, but when he woke up on Valentine's Day morning, neither his wife nor his 2 children were beside him. Seeing this, Rakesh became extremely anxious. He quickly got out of bed and started calling his wife. However, Rakesh had woken up at 7 a.m. and by the time it was 9 a.m. Despite searching thoroughly for 2 hours, he had no clue where his wife and children had gone. During this time, the other family members in the house also became worried about where their daughter-in-law and the 2 young children had disappeared. In a state of distress, Rakesh decided to call his father-in-law, Ratnesh's father, and explain the entire situation. He told him how they had all gone to bed together the previous night, but when he woke up in the morning, his wife and children were missing from the bed. Hearing this, Ratnesh's parents became equally worried about learning that their daughter and grandchildren were missing. They immediately set out from their home towards Greater Noida. When Ratnesh's parents arrived at Rakesh's house, after some time, Rakesh retold that he had no idea where Ratnesh and the 2 children could have gone. At this point, Rakesh, along with his father, brother, and Ratnesh's parents, went to the nearest police station to file a missing persons complaint for Ratnesh and the 2 children. The police registered the complaint immediately and began searching for the 3 on the evening of February 14 itself. However, after 2 or 3 days, the police stopped working on the case as diligently as they should have. As the days passed by, many more went by in the blink of an eye. By this time, the police investigation had become to a complete halt, and even Rakesh and his family had essentially stopped trying to find Ratnesh and children. However, during this period, for reasons unknown, Ratnesh's parents and brother began to suspect Rakesh and his family. As a result, they went to the police station and filed a report, alleging that they believe Rakesh and his family were involved in the disappearance of Ratnesh and her 2 children following. This report, the police knocked on Rakesh's door to question him and his family. When Rakesh and his family learned that Ratnesh's parents had filed a complaint accusing them of being behind the disappearance, they told the police that the allegations were completely false. The accusation deeply affected Rakesh on an emotional level. On one hand, his wife and 2 children were missing, and on the other hand, his in-laws had accused him of being involved in their disappearance. Meanwhile, Rakesh claimed that he deeply loved his wife and children and could never even think of harming them. Even at this stage, the police could not find any evidence regarding Ratnesh and his missing children. As a result, the investigation weakened once again. The police simply had no leads to follow that could help them locate Ratnesh and his 2 children. Now everyone started fearing that something bad might happened to Ratneesh and his two children. But then, on April 25th, 2018, Rakesh suddenly disappears from his house as well. Following this, Rakesh's parents and his two brothers filed a missing person report at the police station. The police now faced a major challenge. Back in February 2018, Rakesh's wife and their two children had gone missing. Afterward, Ratneesh's family expressed suspicion about Rakesh. However, the problem was that the person they suspected, Rakesh, had also suddenly gone missing in April. Despite this, the police continued their efforts to locate Rakesh, his wife Ratneesh, and their two children. Meanwhile, on April 26, 2018, about 103 miles from Greater Noida and the city of Kasganj, Uttar Pradesh, a man discovers a partially mutilated body on a railway track. He immediately calls the Kasganj police, and within minutes, the police reach the site. When the police team arrives at the railway track, they find the body of a young man in a severely damaged condition. The face of the body was badly destroyed and the hands were mutilated. Upon first glance, the police suspected that the man had died after being run over by a train. Subsequently, the Kasganj police called forensic experts to the scene, and within minutes, a team of 4 to 5 experts arrived. In the meantime, the police also delayed all trains passing through that railway track. After this, all the forensic experts thoroughly examined the corpse, and then they find a wallet inside the pants of the body. When the wallet is searched, they find an identity card belonging to a man. When the police check the ID card, the name Rakesh is written on it and the address mentioned is Greater Noida. Based on this information, the Kasganj police drive 2 vehicles to Rakesh's house in Greater Noida. By the time they arrive, it is already dark. Once there, they meet Rakesh's parents and siblings and inform them that a dead body was found on a railway track in Kasganj, and that it appears the person may have been hit by a train. They mention that they found a wallet and this ID card near the body, but the face is unrecognizable. Hearing this and seeing the evidence, Rakesh's family is devastated. Rakesh's father and one of his brothers accompany the police in their vehicle to Kasganj. The police then take Rakesh's father and brother to a morgue in Kasganj and show them the dead body. Although the face is unidentifiable, they recognize the clothing and confirm that the body belongs to Rakesh. Following this, Rakesh, his body is transported from Kasganj to Greater Noida, which 103 miles away. However, before the body is taken, forensic experts collect DNA samples from both the corpse and Rakesh's father to confirm that the body is indeed Rakesh's. By this time, Rakesh's family had already informed Ratneesh's family about the accident. Following religious custom, Rakesh's last rites were performed. A few days later, forensic experts from the location where Rakesh, his body was found, sent the DNA report of his body to the police in Greater Noida. However, the police did not even bother to read the report. Instead, they classified Rakesh's death as a railway accident, filed it away, and moved on. What's shocking is that in the past 2 months, 3 members of the same family had gone missing and one of them was found dead on the railway tracks. What could be more tragic for a family than this? The real challenge for the Greater Noida arose when Rakesh's family accused Ratneesh's family of being responsible for his death. Ratneesh's family believed that Ratneesh and her children had gone missing because of Rakesh, and now Ratneesh's family had retaliated by killing him. These mutual accusations put the Greater Noida police in a difficult spot. Yet, they decided to close the case. Labeling Rakesh's death a railway accident, they had already stopped searching for Ratneesh and her 2 children long ago. Eventually, both families settled down, accepting the situation, and returned to their daily routines. Now, as time seemed to fly by, days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and months into years. By this progression, July 2021 had arrived. During this time, the superintendent of police was transferred to a police station in Greater Noida. SP Rohan had already made a significant name for himself throughout the state of Uttar Pradesh by then, as there was not a single case in his career that he had not been able to solve. Perhaps this happens in every police station around the world. Whenever a new officer is transferred, the first thing they do is review the list of unsolved cases. Following this protocol, SP Rohan also began by retrieving the list of unsolved cases at the Greater Noida police station. At that time, along with SP Rohan, several other officers has also been transferred But as they began examining the list of unsolved cases, they came across the case file of Ratnesh and her 2 children missing, as well as the file on Ratnesh's husband, Rakesh, who had died in a train accident. Sitting in his office, SP Rohan started reading through the train accident file concerning Rakesh. However, as soon as he read Rakesh's DNA report, he was stunned without wasting a moment. He instructed his driver to get the car ready. He then went directly to Rakesh's house and asked his parents a single question. When you performed Rakesh his last rites, were you absolutely certain that the body was indeed his? In response, Rakesh's father says, "Yes, Mr. Rohan saw my son's dead body with my own eyes. At the time, he was wearing the exact same clothes he had on when he left the house. Moreover, his ID card and wallet were also found in his pants." However, SP Rohan tells Rakesh's father, "The man you cremated with your own hands was not actually Rakesh because his DNA did not match yours." But now SP Rohan faced a bigger problem. If the deceased was not Rakesh, then whose body did Rakesh's family cremate 3 years ago? This turned the entire case upside down, and the biggest question was, if Rakesh is alive, where has he been for the past 40 months? To uncover the truth, SP Rohan activated some of his informants and instructed a few of them to keep an eye on Rakesh's house in Greater Noida. During this time, one of SP Rohan's informants reported that Rakesh might be in Sonipat, a city in the neighboring state of Haryana. Upon receiving this tip, SP Rohan along with some colleagues traveled 67 miles from Greater Noida to Sonipat. However, the information turned out to be false, as no one by the name of Rakesh was found living there. A few days later, SP Rohan receives new information from another informant that Rakesh might be in Panipat, a city in the state of Haryana. However, when SP Rohan and his team traveled 93 miles from Greater Noida to Panipat, they were met with disappointment. Despite this setback, SP Rohan instructed all the informants that no further action would be taken unless solid evidence against Rakesh was found. After waiting for a few days, SP Rohan's efforts finally paid off. One of his informants called him and reported spotting someone who resembled Rakesh, although there was slight changes in his appearance. SP Rohan then asked the informant how confident he was that it was Rakesh. The informant replied, "Sir, I'm 90% sure it's Rakesh." People are calling him Dilip Kumar. Upon hearing this, SP Rohan began formulating a plan to apprehend him. One morning, SP Rohan along with a few police officers in plain clothes stationed themselves outside Dilip Kumar's house. When Dilip stepped out to leave for work, the police officers apprehended him. When asked his name, the man identified him as Dilip Kumar. However, SP Rohan was certain he was lying and that his real name was Rakesh, not Dilip Kumar. Now the police officers there brought that Dilip Kumar to Greater Noida by jeep. After a 3-hour journey from Kasganj, once they reached Greater Noida, SP Rohan's team interrogated Kumar strictly and he admitted that he was actually Rakesh. For the past 3 years, he had been moving around using a fake ID, and to top it off, he had undergone minimal plastic surgery to change his appearance. He also told the police the full story of why he had not been living at home for the past 3 years and why he had to go to the extent of getting plastic surgery to alter his face. The truth is, Rakesh got married to Ratnesh in 2012 with their family's consent. However, Rakesh was not happy in the marriage and did not love Ratnesh at all. 1 year passed after their marriage and now it was 2013. During this time, Rakesh never planned on having a child with his wife. In 2013, at a function, Rakesh met a woman named Ruby. Ruby was a constable in the up police station in Kasganj. The moment Rakesh saw her, it was love at first sight. Sometimes later, Rakesh gathered the courage to talk directly to Ruby, and there is where their conversation began. Within a few days, their relationship grew so strong that they started texting each other daily during their free time. Actually, Rakesh was also working at a private forensic lab at that time, so he was free only at night. But in this case, because Rakesh worked at a forensic lab, we would also talk about how he caused the police a lot of trouble. Now, Ruby and Rakesh's relationship was slowly progressing, and Rakesh, while betraying his wife, would go to meet Ruby even late at night but he could not leave his wife because his family was pressuring him. As a result, in 2015, Ratnesh gave birth to Avni, and in the middle of 2016, Arpit was born. However, when Arpit was born, Rakesh's girlfriend Ruby got very angry, and from that point on, she began telling Rakesh, "Now you are changing. You are loving your wife, Ratnesh, more than me." After this, Ruby started pressuring Rakesh to marry her and made the demand, "I will be on my own, and your wife and kids will be on their own. But now, you have to choose between one of us, or I will take some drastic steps." Hearing this, Rakesh got scared, and from then on, he started feeling trouble, which began affecting his married life as well. Meanwhile, Rakesh had fallen in love with Ruby over time, and by the end of 2017, he decided to leave his wife and both children. After this, Rakesh started thinking about how he could get rid of his wife and children. Eventually, his wicked mind told him that if he killed his wife and children, no one would stop him and Ruby from being together. But then he started thinking about how to kill them and how to avoid the investigation from Ratnesh's family and the police. He began to brainstorm and finally came up with the idea of killing his wife and both children and burying them under the floor of his own house. Later, he would go to the police station and file a missing complaint for all three members of his family. And despite the police efforts, they would never find Ratnesh and his children. However, Rakesh then thought if he later married Ruby, Ratnesh's family would suspect him of being responsible for the disappearance of Ratnesh and the children. So, he decided that in order to live with Ruby, he would have to die himself. He had a plan for this as well. According to the plan, on the night of February 13, 2018, Rakesh went to sleep in his room with his wife and two children at their house in Greater Noida. But as soon as the date changed of February 14 and it was around 1 a.m., Rakesh woke up and with all his strength, he strangled his wife with one hand while holding her arms with the other. Once he was sure that Ratnesh was dead, he killed his two sleeping children in the same way. After this, he moved his bed aside and in the silence of the night slowly began to dig a large pit in his own room. When he had dug a hole about 3 to 4 feet deep, he threw the three corpses into the pit and covered them with dirt. Afterward, he leveled the entire floor and set his bed back in place. In just one night, he had committed 3 murders and disposed of the bodies, and no one had any idea about it. In fact, Rakesh had been working in a forensic lab for the past 8 years, which is why he knew exactly how the police and forensic experts would investigate a case after a murder. Anyway, Rakesh spent the night sleeping on top of his wife and children's dead bodies. But then as soon as the morning of February 14th arrived, he started to make noise, claiming that his wife and 2 children had mysteriously disappeared overnight. However, when Ratnesh family members began to suspect Rakesh, he thought that if the police started investigating properly, the case could unravel. This is why he decided to implement the next phase of his plan, which involved him faking his own death. So in the last week of April, Rakesh traveled 103 miles from Greater Noida to Kasganj, where his girlfriend Ruby was posted. In fact, Rakesh had a friend named Rajendra in the area, and before leaving home, he called Rajendra to tell him that he was coming to Kasganj for some work and that they would definitely meet up there. After this, on April 25th, Rakesh leaves his house in Greater Noida and meets Rajendra that very night. They had not seen each other in a long time, so Rakesh decides that they will have a drinking party that night. Later, as evening approaches, the two of them go to a liquor store, buy 2 beers and grab a bottle of alcohol. Rajendra had a family, so he could not take Rakesh to his house to drink. But then Rakesh decides that they will go to a deserted place to drink, where no one would come by. The two of them then head to a railway track near Kasganj, where construction of a new house was going on, and they started drinking there. At that moment, there was no one around, and Rakesh deliberately drank less alcohol while making sure Rajendra drank more so that he would lose his senses quickly. After Rajendra got completely drunk, Rakesh first dressed him, leaving his purse and ID card in Rajendra's pen. Then Rakesh picked up a large stone and brutally crushed Rajendra's face. And later he even cut off his hand's palm. Once he was sure that Rajendra was dead, Rakesh took his body to the railway track to make it look like a rail accident. The next morning when a person passed by the area, they informed the police and the police used Rakesh's ID card to trace his home. By coincidence, Rajendra's body shape, height and hair among other things were similar to Rakesh. As a result, Rakesh's family members mistook the dead body for his and performed his last rites. Meanwhile, Rakesh, who had been traveling to difficult cities, first contacted several doctors and then underwent plastic surgery on his face at one location. Despite this, he continued to hide by changing his location frequently, staying for a few days in different cities of Uttar Pradesh. By now, he had even obtained a fake ID, and he began living again in Kasganj with his girlfriend Ruby. Since people believed Rakesh was dead, the police stopped searching for his wife and children. In this way, like the professor from his web series Money Heist, Rakesh was successful in his plan. However, when SP Rohan was transferred to a police station in Greater Noida and went through old cases file, Rakesh was finally caught alive with the help of DNA reports. After hearing this entire story, the police took Rakesh to the room in his house where he had hidden the bodies of his wife and 2 children. The police then had workers dig a pit there, and the entire process was recorded by several news channels, video cameras. After a few minutes of digging, the police recovered the skeletons of the 3 dead bodies. Sensational case where a man believed to be dead has now been arrested for murdering his wife and children in 2018, burying their corpse in their own home. After this, the police sent the 3 skeletons for DNA testing at the lab, and it was revealed that one of the skeletons belonged to Ratnesh and the other 2 were his children's. However, during this investigation, the police had also started suspecting Rajendra's family. When they interrogated his parents and both brothers firmly, their suspicion turned into truth. In fact, Rakesh's entire family knew about the murders of Ratnesh and her 2 children, and they also knew that they were performing the last rites for Rajendra's dead body instead of Rakesh's. Because of this, the police later arrested Rakesh's parents, and both brothers, and Ruby was also considered an accomplice to Rakesh. This was because due to Ruby, Rakesh killed his wife and 2 children and later murdered his friend Rajendra as well. Although Rakesh committed the murders, Ruby was just as involved in the crime. In the end, the message that comes out of this story is that no matter what kind of case it is, if the police investigate it with seriousness and honesty, even unsolved cases can be resolved. If in April 2018, the police had honestly read the DNA report of Rakesh's dead body, this case might have been solved right then and there. So with that, the Rakesh and Ruby's strange love story comes to an end right here. Thanks for watching.